Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of our district podcast for this term. I am the current public relations manager, Tanish Wadwani, representing District 49, the district of Hawaii in Toastmasters International. If you are a guest joining us who are not aware about Toastmasters International, Toastmasters International is an international non-profit educational organization that aims to help people learn and develop public speaking and leadership skills. We have roughly 270K members all around the world in more than 140 countries in roughly more than 14,000 clubs. Out of these, we have roughly 750 members in Hawaii and they are distributed in 40 to 50 clubs. So that's about Toastmasters International. That's what we do. That's how we operate. And today it's my pleasure to have with me the world champion of public speaking 1997, Willie Jones, a very active member of our Hawaiian Toastmasters community here with me. Today we are going to record a podcast with him and we are going to talk about public speaking and communication skills. But before I get into that, I would like to first welcome you, Willie. Thanks for doing this for us, and welcome again to the podcast. I'm really looking forward to this. There is so much to learn from you. So I'm really excited about this. So, Willie, would you like to share with everyone your journey so far in Toastmasters and public speaking? And yeah, how has your story been so far?
Thank you, Tanish, and aloha, everyone. I'm sitting in Waikiki, Hawaii. The temperature is near 80 degrees, and we have clear skies. It's 7 p.m. in the evening. I just wanted to say that because Hawaii is the weather in Hawaii is perfect to get around. So I'm really enjoying myself. I've been in Hawaii now for almost 30 years, and my Toastmaster journey began back in the early 80s when I was still in the Air Force. And I joined Toastmasters and I liked it right away. I joined on the first day the first meeting that I went to, I joined. I joined because I liked the evaluation portion of the meeting. I had never experienced anything like that before. And I thought it was something I wanted to do. I'm not the type of person who joins things, so it was a big step for me to join some type of organization. And now, over 30 years later, I can tell you that Toastmasters is still the only thing that I belong to. So I stuck to my values. I just don't like to join things, but when I joined Toastmasters, I'm still here. After all of those years, after winning the world championship, I'm still a Toastmaster. I still go to the meetings. I still enjoy the meetings. So you may say then that why is it so important to me? It's important to me because human beings are doing one or two things as they communicate with each other. They are either talking or they're fighting, one of the two. So I don't want to fight, and I don't think human beings in society and civilization can exist if all we're doing is fighting with each other. So the next best bet is to communicate. Therefore, if you're going to be a communicator, it's in your interest to be really good at it because if two people are talking and you are an excellent communicator, you have several advantages. Number one, you know how to listen very well, you know how to read body language, and you know how to respond and get to the point and be succinct. If you have all three of those skills to employ anytime you want with ease, you're going to be successful in this world. I know that. I'm not saying that because I think it's true. I know it's true. Absolutely. I've seen it in force, in application thousands of times over the last 30 years. And I'm always telling people, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to be a Toastmaster.
Awesome. I think that's a very interesting point of view. It's a very fresh perspective. I don't think I have heard this. I mean, I've obviously thought about this before, but I haven't heard of this from anyone else yet. I think that point of view is very interesting, where we are thinking about that we cannot fight all the time. It the society cannot exist like that. Like we won't be in stability, and that is why communication is very very important to uh, make sure that our society stays intact and it functions well. So that's a very insightful thing. Uh, so my next question to you is, uh, what are your thoughts on this? Why is public speaking or communication skills in general important? Like, why should someone, let's say, who could be a Toastmaster, who couldn't be a Toastmaster yet, why should anyone in general focus on developing public speaking and communication skills? Like, I mean, I obviously get that line of thought and that point of view, which we just talked about, but still, let's say, what are the, let's say, material benefits or immediate benefits that a person should think about, and essentially, why should like someone put their energy in this, or why should they focus on this, if you look at it?
You know, I'm sure that you can look at your own life and look at the lives of your friends and anyone who has any desire to move up in life to be successful. And most people are doing that. You'll find them engaged in all sorts of activities that is for personal and professional development. You'll find them going to the gym. You'll find them taking seminars. You'll find them listening to tapes and watching video. You'll find people engaged in a myriad of activities in their lives, and all of them have one sole purpose of improving their personal and professional life. So there are hundreds of billions of dollars spent every year help for people to improve their personal and professional life. And then there's Toastmasters. Because Toastmasters doesn't advertise itself, and nor is it known for promising you that if you do this, if you do A, B is going to happen. Uh, it doesn't have any bells and whistles and snappy videos with people telling you just come here and do this, and a week later or 2 weeks later you're going to be sailing along. Now, I don't denigrate any of those things because I've also done those things. I've also taken weekend seminars and gone to camps and had a lot of tapes in my car listening to them and reading a lot of books. But let's come back to Toastmasters. Toastmasters is an organization where you give yourself a gift. It's a gift from you to yourself. And you join an organization of people who are like minded, and you become a part of a group of people who start from square one. And from square one, the building blocks of communications are there for you to partake of and learn if you desire. You don't have to learn it. Nobody's forcing you to do it. There's no homework. There's no test you have to take. It's all sitting there on the table. If you want it, it's there. And if you do start to eat from that table a little bit at a time, pretty soon you'll get hungry for it and you'll want it more and you'll do more. And then you'll start competing. And all of a sudden, people around you in your personal life and in your professional life will notice something different about you. Not that you've lost weight or you've gotten a facelift or you've changed the color of your hair, but they will understand you better. You will understand them better. And they will say, you're easy to talk to. And you will be easy to talk to because you understand via Toastmasters how to listen, how to respond, how to not get off the subject. You understand those things and you do them naturally. You don't think about it, it just comes naturally. And the reason it comes naturally is because you practice it all the time. At a Toastmasters meeting, you practice it 1 hour a week, 1 hour every 2 weeks. It's all it takes. You just have to be consistent. So, why should people join this and why should they do it? Well, if you want to be a better version of yourself, if you want to be effective in your interactions with others, you should join Toastmasters. I don't know of anything else where you can get the same results. I don't know of anything else.
Makes a lot of sense. I just want to ask a follow-up question on that. Uh, Specifically on the part where you talked about that by pursuing communication skills or by developing communication skills. Of course, why I think Toastmasters is one of the premier organizations to uh, build communication and public speaking skills. But let's say if we broaden the scope in general, this is from an intellectual curiosity point of view that you talked about if a person works on their communication skills, they would be able to engage better with their fellow humans, or like they would be able to relate better with people in their life. But if I look at the broader perspective, of course, I understand the importance of these skills as well. But I think there is a if you look at the broader masses of people, uh, I don't like. I just don't understand why are people not able to basically comprehend this. Like back when I was in college, that is the first thing that I did. Like I focus on communication skills. So to me, it was obvious the way you communicated it, that it's very important irrespective of whatever you do. So it was obvious to me, but I still feel that because even if you look at Toastmasters, we still have like 270,000 members, where we would expect that more people should be into this, right? It's communication, it's so basic, everybody should be involved into this. So what is your take on that in particular? So why do you think people are not as much aware about like not just Toastmasters but developing communication skills in general, or like what are they missing out on, if I like focus that question in particular?
I think that the fear of public speaking remains at the top of things that humans fear. The fear of rejection is something that in anybody's adult life, they don't like it. There's nobody that I know that likes to be told you failed or that wasn't good. So in Toastmasters, we often inflict ourselves with this pain
Hmm.
because we don't bring new members along in a way that does not cause that fear to erupt.
Hmm.
Now, I say that after being in Toastmasters more than 30 years. I'm seeing that when we have 240,000 members, but remember, every year we may lose 90,000 and gain that 90,000. The number kind of stays around 240,000. And I am of the opinion that that is because our meetings are not organized and implemented in a way to not allow that fear of public speaking to cause people to not want to come. That's number one. Number two, it takes time.
Hmm.
You know, we are an instant gratification type of world.
Hmm.
So when you say to people, come in and give it 6 months, that may seem like a long time to someone. If Tony Robbins says if I go to his workshop for 3 days, I'm going to have it. It's going to be done. You're
Yeah.
telling me 6 months, and I'm saying, oh my God, I can pay 3,000 and go over here and get this done in a week. Or I can just listen to tapes in my car and it'll just pour into my body and transform me. So there's a lot of things out there that say we can do this for you right away. And right away sounds a lot better than 6 months. So if and at the end of 6 months, you're still not going to be the world champion. You're still not going to be ready to enter a speech contest, but you will be light years from where you started. And if we within the Toastmaster universe understand that when we bring new members into our fold, that they have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They're not all in. And that one thing that's always sitting there is one bad evaluation. And even if the new member is not the recipient of the bad evaluation, think about this.
Hmm.
The new member is sitting there, and Tanish gives a speech, and Willie stands up and just tells Tanish, you did this wrong, that wrong, that wrong, that wrong. And the new member is sitting there saying, oh my God, I'm not going to go through that. I'm not coming back here. And you never see them again. So my main point is we could have more members, I believe. This is just my opinion.
Hmm.
If we understood that the fear of public speaking is still within the top 5 things that human beings fear. And I'm an experienced Toastmaster, and sometimes I forget that when
Hmm.
I'm talking to new members or I'm evaluating new members. So I think that if we could solve that little small dilemma, it's small, but it's persistent. If we can diminish that, I think it would have a positive effect on our membership.
Makes a lot of sense. So, what do we need to do to achieve that? I absolutely get that evaluations need to be better if you look at it. Like that's the first thing that comes to my mind, like you mentioned, that if a bad evaluation happens, it just doesn't affect the member who received that bad evaluation, but it affects all the new members because they don't want to go through that. So that makes a lot of sense. Any other changes that comes to your mind that you think we can incorporate in our club meetings to make sure that we are able to accommodate people, especially like guests or new potential members who are, of course, in that state where they haven't done public speaking before, so they are still facing that fear. Anything else comes to your mind?
I think this. I think this, and I hope that a lot of Toastmasters hear this podcast because you, I have very strong beliefs about this. Number one, I don't think that anybody can be a Toastmaster in the Toastmaster of the meeting.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you're going to have guests at your meeting and you know that Bob is not a good Toastmaster, you need to change it
Hmm.
because you want the best. You want the guests to see the best. You
Hmm.
want to incentivize them to come back. The
Hmm.
second thing is very few people are good at being evaluations, giving evaluations.
Hmm.
It's not a job that anyone can do effectively.
Hmm.
I believe that a person should not be allowed to evaluate, especially a new member or a guest, or if you have the evaluator in your club, and many of us have them. I have them in my club. The person who's always going to be negative.
Hmm.
You don't want that person evaluating while guests are in the room.
Hmm.
It's what I'm saying is what I'm saying is we have to be keenly aware of how the meeting affects someone returning to come back again. you know, and oftentimes we'll just put the agenda out, and anyone who signs up to be the Toastmaster can be the Toastmaster. That's okay if we're all there and we're all members and we know that. We can help that person grow. But if there's going to be guests, if 3 guests are in the room, then the president of the club needs to step in and say, let's have Willie do Toastmaster today.
Hmm.
Because, and that reasoning is because Willie can be a Toastmaster and the guests are going to be impressed. But
Hmm.
if we leave it the way it is and the Toastmaster is stumbling around, don't know where they are, don't know anything about the agenda,
Hmm.
and the meeting turns into just nothing,
Hmm.
then you are diminishing your chance of bringing the guests
mm,
back. So I believe that. Now,
mm.
I can tell you that as a regular member, like everyone else, um, my opinion is only mine. It's not universally held. That's just how I feel about it.
No, most definitely, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, I would ask you this question later when we'll go into the later segments of the podcast. I would also like to discuss this in a little bit more depth. That let's say if I am a new member and if I want to, let's say, get better at being the Toastmaster of the meeting or being a host, so what can I do? So we'll get into that segment as well towards the later half. Uh, the next part that I want to go towards is public speaking in the context of Toastmasters. So when a new member joins in, the first thing that they do is go through pathways. So, as someone who has been in this organization for really a good amount of time, and you have been the world champion of public speaking as well, so I think you have seen both the sides of it. You have also seen like the pre-pathways era when we used to have the older system, competent communicator, and the legacy system, and now we have pathways. So, what are your first of all, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think the experience was, let's say, before this new system was there, and how has the experience changed after pathways? What are your opinions on that?
I think that Pathways is a light year ahead of the legacy system.
Hmm,
It's like the world now. The world is digitized, so
hmm,
we're in that world now. We're no longer in a world where people are holding books in their hands and reading. They're looking at their devices. They're not walking around with sacks of books.
hmm,
In terms of pathways, I believe that we as an organization and at our district and at our club level, we don't promote pathways enough.
hmm,
And what I mean by that is that we should be saying every time we speak or say anything, we should have something about pathways in it. It needs to become as 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 common to us as the agenda.
hmm,
And the reason for that is it's a new thing, and it's a little bit still the website is still a little bit complicated when you go there and you're trying to get something done. But
hmm,
it's gotten a lot better.
hmm,
And I think that the reputation that it had 2, 3 years ago is no longer warranted because it's a lot better now. If you go there when you log on, it's a lot easier to navigate than it was even a year ago. So I think that we as leaders in Toastmasters, we have to embrace it and we have to integrate it into all of our Toastmaster thinking. So there's a lot of resources on the website in Pathways. We need to start referencing those resources. In other words, when you're talking to someone, you can say, "Here's what you do: go to the website, look up this reference." In other words,
hmm,
point people to the website, give them something that they can go find on the website that is useful to them, so that they'll get used to going there and navigating. We haven't done a good job at that. We're still holding our meetings as if they are legacy meetings. We can
true.
have a pathways tip in every meeting. Every meeting, we can have a pathway. Someone gives a pathway tip every meeting. We need to keep saying those words pathways, pathways, pathways until it becomes a part of our meeting, just as table topics and evaluations are. We all know what those things are, but we
Hmm.
need to include a pathways tip on the agenda so that we're talking about it all the time.
That makes a lot of sense. Following up on that, when a new member joins in, one of the most frequent dilemmas that they have is what path to choose. Now, of course, there's the questionnaire which Toastmasters provide, but do you have any particular insights on this? Like, how should one go about choosing their path out of all the multiple pathways that are available?
I don't have any suggestions about that, I think that I think the way I do it,
Mhm.
as an example, I did the one on humor,
Hmm.
the path, and what I wanted to do, I know I can tell jokes, but what I wanted to do is challenge myself in speeches
Hmm.
to tell jokes.
Hmm.
When I'm giving not only speeches, but I'm giving talks and everything, I wanted to work on that.
Hmm.
And so I decided I wanted to do that. Another one was storytelling.
Hmm.
Okay, I tell stories, but I wanted to practice it. I wanted to work it into my talks and my routine. And so the task within the path within that path has me telling stories. So the way I would tell people is look at all, I think it's 13 now, but look at all of them because you can look at all of them.
Yes.
Before you couldn't, but now you can look at all of them and just what is it that you're leaning toward? What is it that you may already know, but you want to get really, really good at it?
Hmm.
So that's the only way. I mean, that's the way I would do it. But finally, it really within the five levels that you're going through, there are you have the ability to move around in a very flexible way.
Hmm.
You can move in very flexible ways, so you can actually go into a path that doesn't have humor, but there are advanced tasks within there that allow you to do pretty much anything you want. So I don't think that should be an impediment at all. Just pick one and go. And I think that you'll get where you're going because remember, level 5 is the same on all of those uh, paths. Level 5 is confidence.
Makes
So the
sense. Hmm.
whole world leads to confidence in Toastmasters. That's the secret of it all. Because if you have confidence, it builds on itself. It doesn't go away. It builds on itself. You just get better and better and better at it. So I say to people, and struggle through level 1. Don't don't pencil whip level 1. Struggle.
Hmm.
Stay there. If you have to do it 10 times, when you come out of level 1, you should have you should have enough skill and body language, nonverbals, all of those things, how to put a speech together, all of that stuff is in level 1.
Hmm.
If you get through level 1, I don't mean you can easily get through it just by checking it off, or you can struggle with it. And you struggle with it. And when you get through level 1, you will have put yourself on a very solid foundation. And you'll be able from there to just go wherever you want and get better and better and better. I tell people who talk to me about pathways, it's level 1 is the superpower. You've got to stay there until it is the foundation of everything you will ever do in Toastmasters is in level 1. If you learn level 1, you'll know everything. All you'll do is just make it better as you go through. You won't learn anything new in the next 4 levels. It's just make it better. So level 1 is to me is the key to being a pathways superstar.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay. So a lot of Toastmasters do regular speeches, do pathways, but I think we see a fraction of them compete for the, or let's say participating in the contests. And of course, there's that level 2 criteria, which is there, but still, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what, let's say if a let's say a member who is listening to this have never participated in contests before, or is not currently maybe, let's say, motivated to participate in contests. So what is your advice to them? Like, why should they participate in contest, or what is your overall take on participating in contests in Toastmasters?
Well, the first thing I say to them is, who wouldn't want to be a world champion? I mean, if you could just go to sleep and wake up and you're the world champion, would you take it? Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you get to be a world champion? Well, you have to do a lot of speeches, okay? And you have to have something to say that people will find entertaining or inspirational or memorable. And you have to be able to say it in 5 to 7 minutes, not 5 days or 5 hours. So if you have to complete those 3 tasks, that's pretty damn daunting. Who can do that? Not very many people can do that. All you have to do, if you look out there and you see that if you can climb to the top of that mountain, you will have this trophy for the rest of your life. You'll have this title for the rest of your life. And if you talk to those of us who have won this title, the whole world opens up to you. You know, it's like being the world champion of anything. You walk into a room and they introduce you as a world champion, everybody stops and listens. And they want to shake your hand and they want to walk up to you and touch you. And all of a sudden, you are a big deal. And who doesn't want to be a big deal? That's so. It's not like being the world champion is not great. When I became the world champion, I found myself traveling all over the world. I found myself in Africa, someplace I'd never been. And as I picked up different speaking engagements with corporations, I was traveling all over the United States. I was tired of traveling. I just got tired of it. My knees were hurting, my legs were hurting, and I was enjoying it, but all of a sudden it started to become a bit of work. So it wasn't as enjoyable after about 2 years, you know, and I decided, okay, I'll do less of it. And I pulled back and started doing seminars closer to home or things like that. But the big thing about it is that because people know that I'm the world champion, they expect me to know a lot about public speaking. So that also causes me to get back into books. It causes me to make sure that I'm learning because I don't want to appear stupid when someone is asking me something about public speaking. So not only does it causes you to become even better and become really a person who really understands all of the elements of public speaking, not just because you're the world champion, but because you put in the work to learn it. And now you are even better at it. So it has all of those gifts waiting for you. And it doesn't cost you anything to win the trophy. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no entry fee. There's nothing. You just win the contest and keep winning. So my question to a Toastmaster is, why wouldn't you do that? And I ask people here in District 49 because we have a low participation in the contest. And people say, I don't know, I don't want to do it, you know, I don't want to do it. And so all that's telling me, all that's saying back to me is you haven't reached that confidence level yet that you need to, where you need to be. And the way that you get that confidence, I'll say to them, is by speaking. You can't get it any way or the other way. You can't buy it. You can't get it just by coming to the meeting and sitting there doing nothing. You have to speak. And I don't mean give speeches. I mean, you have to, every role on the agenda requires you to speak. It's an opportunity for you to speak. Speaking, I say, I didn't say give speeches, but opening your mouth and saying something, you know, and you get better. It builds on itself. That's what I say to people. You'll do timer and you'll feel first you're a little bit nervous, and then pretty soon it's really easy. And then you say, you know what, I think I'll do table topics. And wow, you get table topics done and you go, it's not that hard. You do it again, you know, and then all of a sudden you're on the speaker's agenda and you talk about something you know, and yeah, you stumble through it, but then you say to yourself, that wasn't so bad. I liked it. I'll do it again. I was in Toastmasters for 3 years before I entered the speech contest. And I kept I kept every year for the first 2 years and when I was in Toastmaster and the contest came around in February. It was like the people who had already in my club who had already been doing the contest every year, we kind of knew everybody in the club kind of knew who was going to do the contest, right? And I was the new guy. I'd been in the club only 2 years, and uh, nobody knew me before I joined the club because I was in the Air Force. Now, so in the third year, I'm sitting there. February is coming, and everybody's signing up for the club contest, but nobody asked me to sign up, and that kind of ticked me off a little bit. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to be in the contest this year," and they also, "Oh, really? Yep, I'm doing it." So I got in the contest, Tanisha, and lo and behold, I won. I won. First time I tried, I won. So now I'm the club winner. I go to the area, I win. I go to the division, I win. So everyone in my club is looking at me and go, "Whoa, you're really kicking it." Yes, I am. Now, in my own mind, I'm not thinking of myself as being a great speaker. I'm a little bit upset because they didn't ask me to get in the contest. So my motivation is, I'll show you. That was my motivation. I'll show you. So so get to the district contest, and I win. I won. So this is the first time I went through it. 3 years in the Toastmasters, I'm the district champion in the state of Arizona, which is where a concentration of heavyweight speakers are at that time. So now I'm the district champion. I got a little article in the newspaper, and people are recognizing me when I go to different places. I go to the next level, which back in those days was called regional, which 3 or 4 districts come together and they have a regional contest. I walk into that contest, a complete unknown. No, because I had never been there before. People who were second place last year come back, blah, blah, blah. I go there, I'm sitting there, and I don't know anything about region contest or anything. I just know it's a lot of people in the room. I know I'm speaker number 5. That's all I know. I win. I won it. So now I go back to Arizona with this huge trophy. Now I'm on TV. I'm in the newspapers. So now I've been a Toastmaster for 3 years. I don't really understand this Toastmaster thing, but here I am with this big ass trophy. Now I'm going to the World Championship, San Diego. I'm in Phoenix. Pack up a few of my friends in a VW van. We drive from Phoenix. It's an 8-hour drive to Phoenix to San Diego. I am in the World Championship of Public Speaking 3 years into Toastmasters. Have no idea how I got there. I just know that I kept winning. I didn't win that day, obviously, because that I won in '97, but this was in '83. I didn't win, I didn't place, I didn't show. But I knew that I shouldn't have won. The person who won the contest, I thought that they were brilliant, but I didn't know why. I just knew that they did something magical that day. And I said to myself, If I can figure that out, what that person just did to win this contest, whatever it was, I'll win it. So that's what set me on the journey to win it in 97. I never entered again. I never entered a contest, club contest, or anything after that until 97. That's the
Fair enough.
next time I entered.
Hmm.
That's when I entered and I said I'm going to win it because I figured it out. I understand this, what public speaking and all these, the levels and things we have to do. I understand that now. I understand how to do all of the things that that guy did in 83. I know how to do all of that. So
Hmm.
therefore, I'm going to win.
Hmm.
I didn't, it never crossed my mind, never, that I would not win. Didn't cross my mind. I knew I was going to win. I didn't practice my speech in the district.
Hmm.
Everybody was saying, don't you want to come to our club? Nope. Nope. I can't practice it. I cannot. I practice it in my head. I practice it when I'm alone. I don't want feedback. I want to keep what I'm doing because I can only give this speech to the audience that day in
Hmm.
New Orleans. I can't give it in Hawaii. It'll be a completely different experience. And I want that, you
Hmm.
know. So anyway, uh, being the world champion brings, it changes your life. And since you're already within the universe, the Toastmaster universe, where this trophy exists, and you have as much of a chance to win it as anyone.
Hmm.
If you look back over the years and see all the winners, there's everybody from everywhere has won it.
Yep.
So I don't know why a person, if you like you yourself, I don't know why you wouldn't compete. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. It doesn't make any sense at all. Because every year when we go, I'm sure when you look up on that stage at every year, you know that you can do as good a job as anybody up there. I bet that has to be in your head, isn't
Yep.
it? Yes.
Was definitely. Yep. I even gave it a shot last year. I made it up to um, division second place in district 49. I went up to district finals, and yeah, I didn't make it to. I didn't end up winning district, but yes, and
Are
then
you,
this, yeah,
you can't do it this year because you're an officer, right?
yes. So the next year, the next time that I find myself free, I agree with you on that. Uh, it's it just gives back so much. Like even if you do not end up winning like as the world champion, I think I've personally learned a lot by working on the contest, because I believe at times you do not have that much time when you're preparing for your club speeches, or let's say even that focus is not there, that environment is not there because it's just you. But when the competition comes in, when that contest comes in, like you mentioned, that ego comes into the picture, right? That you have to win. So I think so that pushes you forward, and that is the reason why I think so. It helps people grow who participate in it. So I'm sold on that. Like you are one of my inspiration amongst the many other legends that we have in Toastmasters who have worked on that world champion title. So most definitely I'm looking forward to it sometime in the future. Once I'm done with, let's say, district leadership, and I'll most definitely resume on that. So I'm sold. So circling back on that, let's say if a person is just doing, let's say, regular club speeches, what exactly are they missing out on? Like if they are not going towards contests, like what I want to understand your point of view on what experience are they missing. So yes, they are participating in public speaking, they are doing speeches and everything in their club, but yeah, they are not taking that next step forward in the contest experience. So what exactly are they missing by not participating in the contest? Like the world
You
championship
you
title aside, like just the experience and learning from that point of view.
I have done a lot of coaching of speakers who's from the club level on. One of the things the most important thing I tell them that you're going to get from this journey is you're going to learn a lot of things. We're going to practice them. We're going to cut them apart and understand why we're doing this and why this is necessary. We're going to learn those things. We're going to argue about it. We're going to look at them upside down and inside out. And as you go through this journey, let's say that you get all the way to the district and you don't make it and you're disappointed. That's okay, because what I'm guaranteeing you, as I say to people, is that it's the experience and the learning that goes on that you will have forever. You will be, again, your ability to be an effective communicator will be exponentially better if you enter the contest, because you're competing against someone. So it's competition. It kind of gets you to go to the gym and start doing some lifting. It gets you standing in front of a mirror practicing. And if you have a coach, which you should have, you have somebody back who's reflecting these things back to you. And you're learning. Because if you win the club contest, you got to get ready for the area contest. Okay.
Yep.
You got to get ready for the division contest. You just not, it's not just a walk through these things. So you're learning all the way through. And even if you don't win the district contest, you have covered a lot of ground just in that short period of time. So it is, if we could take everybody through that journey, if there was a way to get everybody involved in some way, it would be wonderful for everyone's learning. Okay, because it's, yourself, you went through it. You know that you got better. Did you not? So, and it hasn't gone away. The things that you learn, all you can do is build on them, and that's, again, it's up to you. That's why I say that after this round, when you're no longer, and unless you're going to move on up to the next level in the leadership, but if you're going to go back to speaking, I expect to see you next February.
Most definitely. Yeah.
And I'll be here if you need me, call me. I'm right here. And we'll get on something just like this, and we'll beat it up, take it apart, put it together, make it something great.
Most definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to whatever the next term might be when I'm not a district leader, so that I can get back into the contest. I enjoy both of those things equally. So I can't really, I'm really looking forward to it once I'm done with leadership, whenever that might be. But yeah, once I'm done with that, I definitely want to get back into the game, and of course, I'll reach out to you. And
Great.
yeah, all right. So my next question for you is, so let's say we'll talk about this in both the contexts, like a regular speech and an international uh, contest speech as well. But I would like to start with this. So let's say I am an absolute beginner in public speaking, and I have a speech coming up, and I have sufficient time to prepare. So what all do I need to do to make sure that it goes well? Like, what should be my to do or my process of preparing for a speech?
You say you don't have much time?
I have sufficient time.
You do have time.
Yes.
Okay, and you tell me again what you just said.
Okay. So I am a beginner, and I have a speech coming up, and I have sufficient time to prepare. So, uh, what all do I need to do to make sure that it goes well? Like, what should be my process? What should be my to do, or what should be my checklist? How should I prepare for a speech?
The first thing, okay, so you need to think, number one is, what's my message?
Hmm.
What is my message? My message is, what goes around comes around, let's say.
Hmm.
Let's say, it's better to tell the truth all the time than not. or whatever your message is. And then once you decide what your message is, the next thing is how do I come up with three things that's going to emphasize or lead to that message. So let's say what goes around comes around. I'm going to tell a story about someone who did something good, and a year later something good happened to them. Even if I don't have that story in my own head or my own memory, I can go and find a story of what goes around comes around story. There's many of them out there. So I find one that I like, or if I have one that I know about, then I find it and I'm going to use this story in my speech because it goes to the message of what goes around comes around. So I'm going to think of three things that's associated with my message that I'm going to talk about. So now that is everything except the beginning. Because I got the beginning, which I know that I want the people to listen to me. That's the whole point of the beginning. I want to bond with them. I want them to listen to me. How do I get them to do that? Well, if I have a voice that everybody loves and I've got a couple of hit records, I can sing. But if I'm not really good at singing, I better do something else. Can I tap dance? Well, I can't tap dance. Well, don't dance. So what am I going to do? So you go through a list of things. It's different for everybody. How am I going to get their attention and get them to like me and listen to me? And so now that you have those three elements that you need to work on, you got to put all that into 6 minutes, not 7 minutes, 6 minutes. I don't want to go to 7 minutes. 7 minutes, no, 6 minutes. So that's your framework that you work on. How do you find stories? You look into your own life first, because if it's in your life, you don't have to memorize it. It's already there. You just have to kind of organize it. Okay. So you always look to your life or to the experience of people that you know. In other words, stay as close to home as possible when you are putting together the middle part of the speech. The end of the speech, where you're going to say what goes around comes around, you don't need but 30 seconds to do that because you've prepared the audience for it. So as you lead them up to the water, you offer it and they'll drink and you're done. So the framework, put what is your message, and then put the rest of the elements down on a piece of paper and in line, and then fill them in, and you're ready to go.
Makes a lot of sense. So my next question is in the context of our international speech contest. So we discussed about how do we prepare for a regular speech. But the next step is, like, let's say I am a participant in the international speech contest. So how is that different from whatever we just discussed? Like, what extra do I need to do, or how do I exactly prepare for the international speech contest?
Okay. The first thing I tell people is get a copy of the judge's sheet. You can download it from the website. So from the beginning, understand that the judges are all past district governors. They got multiple DTMs. They've been in Toastmasters 25, 30, 35 years. They've heard every speech known to man. They've heard every joke, every anecdote. They've heard it all. So the question is, what's going to separate you from the other 8 speakers? Well, the first thing is pay attention to that judge's sheet, because these people will usually be more apt to look at that judge's sheet than anything else, because they're well trained. So they're going to use it. So the things that you can control on that judge's sheet, your appearance, all of the things on there that you can do effortlessly you do them.
mm,
The next thing is your theme has to be universal.
mm,
It can't be something that's particular to your culture or your country. It has to be universal.
mm,
So you have to think about it as a global theme.
mm,
Then you have to make sure that you have humor, and you have to make sure that your gestures and your body language are perfect.
mm,
These are all things that you have control over. These are all things that pathways can teach you. These are all of these things. And all you're doing when you get ready to enter the speech contest, you come up with what it is, your message, and it's something, let's say it's a message that it's always on your mind. You just got to put it into a speech. That's when I would start working with somebody like me, a coach, and go over ideas. I got these ideas. What do you think? I got this, I got that. And then come up with it around November, December, and
mm,
then you start working, 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 working. So it is a very precise process of understanding what's on that judge's sheet,
mm,
making sure that you got all of those things covered, and then making sure that you follow the rules in terms of the timing and all of that. The opening, the little things, because the the little things are probably separates number one from number two. Little things.
mm,
Did you acknowledge the Toastmaster? Little bitty things. And
mm.
you're going to be nervous that day. No matter who you are, you're nervous. So it's easy to make a mistake when you're nervous. So that's my prescription for getting ready for it.
Makes a lot of sense. So when you were preparing for your World Championship speech, how did you choose your topic? I think it's a very common dilemma amongst participants, and I have faced it before as well when I was preparing. So how do you choose your topic? Like, of course, like you said, that the theme has to be universal, and of course you will look into your own life, and you'll at least have multiple ideas that you have.
So
How did you
so
come up
what
with idea? Yeah.
here's what I actually did.
Mhm,
I said, okay, all the things that I just told you about the people at the contest. I know now, it's still the same today.
mhm,
I knew that most of the people in the audience would be over 50.
mhm,
Okay. I knew that. I
mhm,
knew there would be a lot of DTMs there. So
mhm,
I knew that their political persuasion is probably right, a little bit right of center. They're
mhm,
more conservative than they are liberal.
mhm,
There's probably there are slightly more women than there are men. So the judges will probably be 50 or 60% women.
mhm,
This is how I'm thinking about the task before me.
mhm,
So then I said to myself, what is it that I can talk about to this group of people to entertain them and inspire them and motivate them?
mhm,
I started playing with ideas, and I came up with the fact that nobody wants to be reminded that they're 50.
mhm,
Nobody,
mhm,
so I said, okay, how can I play with that number? Because 50 is when, you get a letter from the retirement people, and they ask you, do you want to join?
mhm,
All sorts of things happen in your life when you turn 50. None of them are things that you love,
mhm,
because it's reminding that you're getting old.
mhm,
So I wanted to play with
mhm,
that arena. And myself, what I said to myself, if I can win the audience, this is my thinking. If I can win the audience, I will win the contest.
mhm,
I know that everybody coming that day are going to be dressed correctly. Their gestures are going to be good. Their vocal variety is going to be good. They're going to have all of those elements.
true.
They're going to have it. You know.
Mhm.
At least three of them will for sure.
Hmm.
So I got to separate myself. I don't want to be a part of that herd.
Hmm.
So therefore, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to entertain this audience. I'm going to have them laughing loud. I'm going to have them loving me.
Hmm.
That's what I'm going to do. That's my goal. And so all I have to do now is put together a speech that creates that atmosphere that I want in the room that day.
Hmm.
And I did it. I did exactly. I got exactly the response from the audience that I wanted, that I envisioned. This is what I wanted. This is what I got. It was even better than I had it envisioned. And when I finished speaking, the applause was so loud that
Hmm.
I said to myself, "This is over.
Hmm.
No chance anybody can beat me." And there was only one speaker left, number 9. I was number 8.
Hmm.
And speaker number 9 didn't even look at me when I walked backstage to take the microphone off. He just turned away. And I said, "Well, he's defeated, you
Hmm.
know." So
Hmm.
so my point is that it's different for everyone,
Hmm.
but it is a part of the it's not something that you don't think about. You put a lot of thought into it,
Hmm.
because this is it. This is showtime. This is you get one pass at this. You don't get a second pass. So you put everything, all your effort into it for that day. This is the biggest day of your life. And so if you think about it in terms of the enormity of it, then get ready for it in that fashion. Don't take it lightly because somebody's going to win. I mean, you've come this far, you might as well win. I don't want second place. I don't want third place. I want the trophy. And that was my mindset. That was my thought. I had no desire to be second. Nope, don't want anything to do with it. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
I'm winning this. And when I won it, I wasn't surprised at all
Hmm.
because I knew I had done all the work. It wasn't luck. I did everything I needed to do, and I got the response from the audience that I wanted, and it was even better than I wanted. I was satisfied.
Makes sense. So, when you were like figuring out your idea of it, I definitely resonate to that you were thinking about your audience. So, uh, was it like that this idea came up and it instantly like resonated with you, or were you evaluating multiple ideas and then you ended up going for that particular idea that nobody wants to be reminded about that, or the whole story itself? So, when it comes to the central theme, were you evaluating multiple ideas and then you ended up choosing this, or was it like the first idea and you felt an instant connect with it and you went on with it? How was it?
I thought, okay, I started out with nothing,
Mhm.
right? Started out with nothing. So then I thought about who's going to be there, and I thought about all of the demographics and all of the things that I just told you about.
Hmm.
So then I said, what would appeal to them?
Hmm.
What is something that would appeal to most of them?
Hmm.
Because if I need to get most of them, so the first thing popped into my mind was 50.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the first thing that popped into my mind, and I said, "That's it. That's it. I don't need to go any further. That's it.
Makes
It's
sense.
50. It's 50."
Hmm.
At the time. But when I went to the regional contest in California, I think this is a better way of this is a better illustration.
Hmm.
So I'm in Hawaii. I won the district contest, and I'm going to California to the regional contest.
Hmm.
California and Hawaii is like two different countries, so
Yeah. Hmm.
it's not the same. So
Yes.
I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, everybody else in that contest in California live near or in California, right? Right. So I am going to be kind of an oddball going there. Now, so my question is, how do I appeal to the California audience? Right. So what is it that's going on in California that everybody may be talking about or everybody knows about? You know, if you say something, they'll know it. They'll immediately know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I remembered as I'm going through the different things, I'm looking back at newspapers, I'm looking at different things that I can find that out. I remembered that there was a time, or in recent time, for that period, where there was a controversy in California about something called ebonics. And what that was about was they were saying that kids from low income houses in the black kids mostly,
Mm-hmm.
they were saying that they spoke a different language, that their use of the English language amounted to essentially a different language.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to, when I say they, there were advocacies who were trying to normalize ebonics so that teachers would accept the fact that the young man wasn't using the right English verbs and adverbs when they were speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty, pretty controversial in California. There were people on both sides of the issue. So I knew that if I used the word ebonics,
Mm-hmm.
everybody would know what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
number one. And number two, since I was 100% against it, I knew that I was on the right side of the issue. And being a black person, it was okay for me to ridicule it in public.
Mm-hmm.
I knew all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to do that
Mm-hmm.
because I need something. I can't go there and just use a regular Toastmaster theme because there's going to be 8 of us there. I'm going to be the odd guy, and I don't want to go there with your regular Toastmaster theme. I got to do something different. That was
Mm-hmm.
my so. So let me just tell you this: the lady before me,
Mm-hmm.
the speaker before me,
Mm-hmm.
she talked about cancer research, and she was a cancer survivor.
Mm-hmm.
She spent most of her speech talking about cancer. And I knew that the audience was completely in the valley, the deep, dark valley, saying, oh, please don't use that word cancer. Cancer, you never want to use the word cancer in a speech.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew the audience, the emotional state of the audience was in the dumps. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was, how do I get them out of there?
Mm-hmm.
How do I bring them out of that dark place, get them back to even, and then go on with my speech? So I'm thinking between I'm number 6, she was number 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a minute between the speeches. So I'm sitting there thinking, I got to figure out something.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went onto the stage, I started yelling really loud. And I shook the audience because they didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And as they were trying to figure out what I'm doing, I brought them out of that dark place where they were emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movie, I can't think of the name. I think it's called Network, I think. But there is a movie that I knew everybody knew the movie. And at the beginning of the movie, the lead actor is yelling. And what he is saying is, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's yelling. Now, I knew everybody in that audience had heard that I'm mad at hell because it was in the newspaper. You know, it was really, people were saying it all over the place. So that's what I was yelling.
Mm-hmm.
I yelled it 3 times. And then as they're sitting there in their seats, back to where I wanted them to be emotionally, I started my speech.
Hmm.
And we talked about mnemonics, and I talked about how ridiculous it was, and blah 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 blah,
Hmm.
and I won, obviously. But my point is that two things. First, I was alert, and I'm looking at the emotional state of the audience because
Hmm.
whatever the emotional state of the audience is, if they're not neutral, or if they're not where you need them to be when you start your speech, then it's gonna take you some time to get them there,
Hmm.
and you don't have much time.
Hmm.
So you can't. You want the audience to be at a certain emotional state. Usually, you just want them to be neutral.
Hmm.
Let's say that the speaker before you was really really funny,
Hmm.
and they were laughing, and now they're all talking to each other, and but your speech is serious.
Hmm.
You got how you going to get them to an emotional place before you start in order for you to do what you want to do. So as I what I'm saying to you is is that all of these little bitty things
Hmm.
into winning. You can't leave any stone unturned. You have to pay attention to everything. And that's how you win. You pay attention to every little thing. You don't let anything escape you. You have to be flexible. You can't walk in the door with your speech already in your can and you can't change it.
Hmm.
Because if I had gone on that stage behind that lady and just started my speech, I would probably be 3 minutes into the speech before the audience even caught up with me. And
Hmm.
by that time, they wouldn't catch me before it was time for me to finish. And I would have lost. I could have went out of there and blamed it on her, but I would have lost.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm here to win. I'm not here to lose. I'm here to win.
Hmm.
So whatever I need to do, I just need to do it and win it.
Makes a lot of sense. Following up on that, so when I was preparing, I watched the last 40 years of world champions of public speaking speeches. And that's the oldest you can find on YouTube, and before that it's not available. So I analyzed all of that and I noticed a pattern. So like for example, in your speech, what stayed with me was your quote that the number of people who decide to show up on your funeral would be decided by the weather that day. So that is something that has stayed with me till date, and I have seen such elements for other speakers as well. Like for Katani's cigarette is famous. The bit he did for Dhananjay Hetriarchi, it's that flower magic that he brings up that whole flower towards the end. For Aaron Beverly, it was that whole shoes thing, that whole skit that he did. So that is something interesting that I noticed. So do you think was a strategy behind that too? Like, I would like to particularly know that how you came up with your that special element, or what's the thought process behind that?
No, mine was keep them laughing.
Hmm.
That was that was my goal. My goal was to keep them animated.
Hmm.
That's all I was doing. I didn't have any magical anything. All I wanted to do is to make sure that I got them. Okay, one other thing. At the beginning of my speech, you see me say, I'm going to come out here so that you can get a good look at this fellow. Those are the first words that I say.
Hmm.
I I didn't have that in my written speech. I didn't write the speech, but my
Okay.
in my speech.
Hmm.
The reason I did it is because speakers 1 through 7
Hmm.
stayed center stage where the X is when they tell you to, when you come onto the stage, they tell you to stand on the X.
Hmm.
First 7 speakers stood on the X. I had to stand on the X. But then when they started speaking, they went side to side. They didn't go to the front of the stage, which was about 10 feet between the middle of the stage and the edge of the stage. Now, so I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and I'm saying to myself, I know what happens when the brain focuses on a certain spot.
Hmm.
It gets lazy. And all of a sudden, people start to drift away. They already know where the people's going to stand. Your brain already knows all of this.
Yeah.
So each person, there's nothing new happening. So there's no reason to get alert. There's no reason to change your focus, nothing. And so I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the focus of the audience. I'm going to make their brains refocus to see something different. And the way I'm going to do that is rather than walk this way, I'm going to go toward them. That's why I did it. That's the only reason I did it. I walked out to the edge of the stage and their brains were saying something's happening, something different is happening. Not that person is not doing what everybody else did. So when I said I'm going to come out here where you can get a good look at this fella, there was a friendly murmur from the crowd. So it wasn't offensive to them. They liked the idea that I had done that. So the next thing I said is I got my letter from the AARP. Those are the first words that I spoke. I knew that at least 50% of the people in that audience had that letter. Same one. And I know that they didn't like it. Nobody wants the letter, right? So they groaned and they laughed. So I knew that was click, got them. And then after I said that, I said, you got yours too, didn't you? And they laughed. So now I have them where I need them, up here. All I got to do is keep them there. That was the whole point. See, so my strategy worked because I said to myself way back in 83, if I can figure out what Roy Fenstermacher did, I can win. And what Roy Fenstermacher did that day is he had the whole audience in his hands for 5 to 7 minutes. And he kept them there. And I didn't know how he did it. I didn't know how, but he did it with gestures and body language and movement on the stage and, tickling their emotions here and there. And those were things that I didn't know in the first time through. So the second time through, I knew it. When I told the joke, about the Monsignor during the speech, when they started laughing before I told the punchline, that was it, because you always want the audience to be in front of you, not behind you. You see, so technically they were in front of me. They were already laughing at the joke, at the punchline before I even said it. So what did that tell me as a speaker? I got them. They love me. They're with me. All I need to do, what I said to myself, once they were laughing at that punchline before I said it, I looked down and I saw the yellow light. And I said, I just need to get off the stage without falling. It's over. I don't need to do anything else. I just need to end this in a easy way, as easy as I can, and get out of here. Because it was over at that point. I didn't need to do anything else.
Makes sense. So overall, your strategy was you came up with a topic which was very relevant to your target demographics, to your target audience, and your goal was that you have to just keep them engaged throughout the end. So that was your central focus. Uh, Anything else that you would like to share about your point of view, or your strategy, or like when you were preparing for World Championship of Public Speaking? Um, Anything else that was your central to your strategy, or that you were focusing on? Or anything that else that you would like to add to this?
I'd like to say this.
Mhm.
The world needs effective communicators.
Mhm.
You turn on your television, you go to organizational meetings, no matter where you go or what you do, if you're a Toastmaster, you immediately start saying to yourself, that person needs help, no matter who they are.
True.
So if you are gifted, if you are skilled in what it is that we do in Toastmasters, I can tell you that your life should be much better than it was when you weren't a Toastmaster, because you have these skills. You're able to communicate effectively. You're able to listen effectively, and you're able to walk away with whatever it is you came to get. I know that in my life changed dramatically, because I know how to get things that I want, not by being devious or fraudulent, but by listening well, by understanding how to communicate with people so that I can get what I want. Now, again, I know that I got all of this from Toastmasters. I know that it's been a gift that just keeps on giving. I know all of the many wonderful things that have happened in my life. And all of it goes to the fact that someone says, let Willie talk about it because he's really good at that. Or let's call Willie and ask him when he do that. I'm not talking about Toastmasters. I'm talking about the governor of the state. I'm talking about people coming in on cruise ships and somebody say, call Willie. He can go out he can fill in as a speaker for you on your cruise ship. He can do this. He can do that because they know I can, you know? And if I get a call from people and they say, we'd like for you to come and talk about Buddhism, I can go talk about Buddhism, you know, so I go into schools, I talk to children, I talk to parents, and I'm not, I don't have any personal things that I want people to do because Willie says so. That's not what I do. That's not my goal. That's not my life. What I say to people is I don't have any answers. None. Zero. Anything that you need to know is inside your head. I promise you, it's already there. The universe has prepared you for anything that you need to achieve on this planet. What I do is I ask you good questions. And the only thing that I want you to do is think. Because I believe that if you sit and you be quiet and you think and you communicate with the little person who lives inside of you, anything that you have a question about will be answered. It ain't going to come from me. I don't know. I know what's good for me. I don't know what's good for you. So I'm not going to be promoting, telling you to just jump around on one leg or go over here and do this. I don't have those formulas. I just know that I want you to think. That's all I want you to do because the answer is there if you just listen. That's 100% my philosophy.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so my next question to you is, so we have talked about speeches and international speech contest. Next, I want to talk to you about evaluations. So, in the similar tone, so let's say if I want to become, the best evaluator that I can be, and by me, like, I mean, let's say a beginner, in who is a beginner in Toastmasters and public speaking, and they want to be like the best evaluator that they can be. What would be your advice to them?
Um, I would say to them that evaluating is like having a gun in your hand.
Hmm.
So you have to treat it that way. What is it about evaluation that evaluation is the most valuable part, I believe, of our meetings because you're getting feedback. There's no other place in your life, college, on the job, any place where you get instant feedback. Unless, someone is reacting, not giving you feedback.
Yeah.
Reacting, throwing Molotov cocktails at you or something.
Hmm.
So in order to be an effective evaluator, you have to learn that skill. You have to set aside your own biases. You have to evaluate the speech, the utterances, not the person, what they said.
Hmm.
What did you hear them say? Because I may be saying something and you're hearing something different.
Hmm.
What the speaker needs to know is, are you hearing what I intend? So I want the speaker to know what I heard you say. I heard you say this, and this. This is how I felt about it. Because I'm evaluating it based on me, not on the person sitting next to me. I'm telling you how it affected me. So I'm different from Tanish. You may have said something in your talk that offended me. You didn't know, you weren't trying to offend me, but I didn't like that when you said that. I need you to know, not because I want you to please me, but I need you to know that you have to take into account everybody in the room, not just impress your friends, or you and Bob put this speech together, and Bob is not culturally the same or religiously the same as me. You have to include me in that. So I tell you what I heard you say, how I felt about it, and what it is that I think that you may have done to even make it better for me. Because it's not about me telling you how to make it better for them. I don't know them. And I'd follow the recommendations in Toastmasters, tell you something that you did great, give you something that I think you can improve on. Now, I'm one of those Toastmasters who will say to you unabashedly that I have said to people, don't improve. There's nothing I have. I thought what you said today was a 10. Okay, so I'm not going to reach down deep into my bag to try to find something just to find something. If I thought what you just said was great, that's all I need to say. I don't need to find anything that you need to improve. Just keep doing what you're doing. That was great. I've done that more than once, because there have been people who have knocked it out of the ballpark. And I want them to stay up there. I don't want to try to tell them, go over here and do this. I don't want that. So I tell them what I heard them say. I heard you say this. This is what I felt about it. Then when I come to the part where I want to tell you what I think you can do better to help me understand you. Not to do better, not for you to be better universally, because universally it's always going to be different. But if you know your audience, and you know that you want to appeal to them, then you need to know what appeals to me. And I'm the evaluator, so I'm not talking about Tanish, I'm talking about me. Okay, Tanish may thought it was a great speech, but he's not the evaluator. I am. So that's what I think about. I think evaluations are like holding a gun. If you have to be very careful in your application of those things, but that comes from understanding the power that you have when you're evaluating someone. It's a very powerful thing, and it can cause people to never come back to the meeting again. You will never know why they quit. They'll tell you their mom got sick, or whatever, but the only thing that they'll be thinking about was what you said to them that day. So it's a loaded gun, so be careful.
I think that's a very important point to remember. So my next question for you is the same, but for table topics. So how can we excel at that, and what's your advice for that?
How can we what?
How can we become the best table topic speakers possible?
Table topics, you are more apt to be in your life, in your professional, personal life, you're more apt to be a table topic speaker than a speech giver. Remember that. Because the way that we talk to each other, the way that we experience life around us is table topics. Yeah. We don't experience life around us in speeches. We experience it with table topics. So again, how do you get good at it? You do it. You just keep doing it. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. You listen to other people do it, and you say to yourself, Now, it's a mini speech. A table topics is a mini speech. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, but you only have 2 minutes.
Hmm.
So you really have to be, your words have to be really very selective. But it's a 2 minute speech. It's all it is.
Hmm.
But you'll be doing more table topics in your life than anything. Again, you can turn on the TV every day and you can see people fumbling all over themselves, and you say to yourself, wow, they need to go to Toastmasters. They don't know it, but you know it, you know. So to be the best, the only thing I can say, I don't know of any way you can learn it other than doing it.
Hmm.
That's I don't have any educational advice. You have to just do it.
Hmm.
And I would want to be, I always want to be called on in table topics, always. But always remember, table topics is not about answering questions.
Hmm.
See, now that's another fallacy that's very prominent in Toastmasters.
Hmm.
Toast Table topics has nothing to do with answering questions at all.
Hmm.
That's not the point. The point is speaking coherently for 2 minutes about anything you want. You can deflect the question, you can do anything you want. Just don't stand there looking dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if someone says something to you, I'm glad you asked me that question. It reminds me of, and you can talk about anything you want.
Hmm.
You just have to be smooth and deft at it. But many people lose the opportunity to get good at it because they think it's a question and answer section. It's not.
Hmm.
It's not what it is. And if you are able to speak extemporaneously about anything or deflect it, but still look confident, you've done your job. So politicians do it, as you know, because the politician is told by their publicist, this is the message you have to say. No matter what they ask you, you have to talk about this. No
Yeah.
matter what
Hmm.
you see. So so that's why politicians are doing it. They're not doing it because they're good at table topics. They're doing it because their publicist said you need to say these things 3 times in that minute you have them. If they put a camera in front of you, talk about this, no matter what they say.
Hmm.
But in table topics, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if someone asks you a question, you should be able to answer that question coherently and talk very about it, for a minute, minute and a half, which is about all we talk to each other. When you're going into any agency and you want something from the person behind the desk, you use table topic. You use a table topic. I go into a place and the first thing I look for is common ground. I look at the person. Let's say the person is wearing a red shirt. And I say, "Oh, I like your red shirt. I got 50 of them."
Hmm.
You know, red is my favorite color. And then we start talking about red.
Hmm.
Now, if the person responds to me and say, "Oh yeah, well, red is my favorite color," and we tell stories about red, I'm going to get what I want. I already know I'm going to get it, right? So
Makes sense. Hmm.
I can make that type of small talk. I can do those things. So table topics, but if there's no way to learn table topics except to do it. That's it. I don't have any other advice. Just keep doing it till you get really good at it.
Makes sense. So next, I want to talk to you about, like you mentioned that uh, an experienced member should take up the role of the host of the meeting or Toastmaster of the meeting. So let's say if I am a beginner Toastmaster and I want to get better at it, what would be your advice for that? How do you define a good Toastmaster of the meeting and how can one get better at it?
Hmm. I don't know. Um, in my own experience, I tend to know who's good at that job. I tend to know in my club meetings who's good at different jobs. There's a lady in one of my clubs. Her name is Janice. She is great at no, she's great. Her best thing is grammarian. She is really, really good at being a grammarian. So in other words, I know who is a good Toastmaster and who is not in my meeting. And what I mean by that, a good Toastmaster is someone who's going to keep the meeting on track,
Hmm.
who's going to keep the energy in the room high,
Hmm.
and who's going to be in charge. And not in a gruff way, but in a way that keeps everything going and flowing and moving along.
Hmm.
Because there's always distractions in a meeting and things like that. But if you have a good Toastmaster, they know how to bring it all back and keep moving along so that the meeting starts on time, it ends on time, and they get everything done in that time frame. And if there's somebody missing, the Toastmaster fills in. The Toastmaster doesn't allow the meeting to not go on, because I've been in a meeting where I'm the table topics master, I'm the general eval, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a meeting. I know how to do all those roles. I'm the Toastmaster. So rather than scratching my head, let's go. I can do all three of those roles. You see? So I don't know how to choose that person. I think that we just know, we get to know who's good at these jobs in our meetings, and that's the only thing I know about that. I know who's good, I know who's not, and I know that this person can't be the Toastmaster when they have guests or something in the meeting. But otherwise, yeah, it's okay to fumble through these things because that's learning. But I think when you have guests, you want the meeting to go as smooth as possible because you want to impress them. You want them to join your club. So I think that again, the president has the authority and should exercise that authority and should say so at the beginning of their term. This is how this going to work. If we have guests, then Willie's going to be the Toastmaster, no matter who's on the agenda. And John's going to be table topics because he's really good at that. We want to impress the guests,
Hmm.
and everyone should want to do the same. Should want that.
Makes sense. So next, I want to ask you about the TEDx format. If I remember correctly, I think you have done a TEDx talk. So how was your experience with that, and how is that format different? Like, would you like to share anything about that experience and that format?
The format of
TEDx.
TEDx.
Yes.
Uh, TEDx. TEDx is like giving a 12-minute speech.
Mhm.
Um, I think that the buildup, the advertising, the run up to it
Hmm.
is more than the event itself is.
Hmm.
I think that TEDx has turned into people think that it's something different than what it is. It is, if you're a Toastmaster, there wouldn't be any problem with you doing TEDx.
Hmm.
You know, um, I didn't go to it with thinking that it was something different. I had watched a lot of TED speeches and talks, and I just realized that it was an enterprise, a business that whomever are the founders of it, they put together a really good thing. Because you had some. I've learned a lot from listening to TEDx and TED speakers,
Mhm.
but it's not really. It's not something I'm in awe of. And if you are a TEDx speaker, it's not. Mm, it's not something for you to be all tense about. TEDx is not. You can be a TEDx speaker if you want to. There are plenty. There are plenty of TEDx licensees around the country and probably the world that are looking for speakers. Not there's it doesn't. You just have to find them if you have something to say, and it's 12 minutes. They don't give you any other rules. Pretty much you got 12 minutes. You go up, you say what you have to say, you're done. So I don't think it's as big a deal as people make it.
Hmm.
But the main thing that you get from it is you get the notoriety that you have done TEDx, so you can put that in the corner of your bio, and you get to show it to people if you want. But other than that, it's more it's bigger than it's not as big as it seems. I guess that's the best way to put it. But it's worth doing whenever you can reach people with a message that you believe is worth spreading. Whenever you have the opportunity to do that, you should do it. Whenever I'm okay, so I'm a world champion, but if someone calls me and says we can't pay you, I'm going to go speak anyway. Okay? Because I truly believe that I have something to say. I truly believe. So it's not like I'm sitting here saying, no, you got to pay me $5,000. No, you don't. No, because I think, and as I just told you a few minutes ago, I believe to my core that if I can just ask you some good questions in the course of my speech and get you to think, that's all I came here for. I didn't come here to give you any wisdom from the mountaintop. I don't have any. I came here to ask you to think. Don't let people tell you what to think. Think for yourself. That's where your superpower is, inside your head. It's not in a Tony Robbins video. It's not what Willie Jones said. It's not in that tape that you're watching. That's not where it is. It's in your head. That's where it is. So that's what I say to people. And no matter what I'm talking about, I can be talking about any subject, and I'm going to be clever enough, and my words are going to take you to that place. Everybody, it's in there. If it's drug addiction, if it's whatever it is, it's in your head. The reason that you're a drug addict has to do with something in your head. I can't be as blunt as that, but I lead you there. That's what where my skill comes in. I lead you there. I had a group of people who asked me to come and talk to the local. There was a convention here in Hawaii, and it was a convention for farmers, people who grow agriculture. Well, I've never grown anything in my life, so I don't know anything about farming. But they asked me, could I talk to the farmers, to this group, because their main speaker got sick, and someone told him, call Willie, maybe he can do it. So I said, sure. And so I said, send me your program so I can look at it to see what your theme is and blah, blah, blah. Well, what the whole point of this convention was to help small farmers understand that the era of small farming was going to go away. Big companies were buying up small farms. Food is going to be processed all over the world, not just locally. And so if you're a small farmer, you're going to become a dinosaur soon, unless you find another way to keep going. So the question is, how do you get this across to these farmers who don't want to go? They want to maintain the status quo. So I said to them, I took them on a journey, and I brought them all the way from the universe out in space back down to Earth. And I said to them, rather than fight, okay, think about this. What about specialization? What about all the many things that you can come up with in order to sell your product in a way where you don't have to distribute them to supermarkets and places that are going to be buying their products from other places? Think about all of the people who know you who buy your products, who would continue buying your products if you develop customer service, if you develop ways to innovate, because just standing there doing this is not going to work. They'll roll right over you and won't even think about it. won't even cross their mind. They'll come in and buy your farm and then put a parking lot out there.
Mm.
So, so as I said to them, we can't stay here.
Mm.
Can't go back, but you can go forward. Just think about it. Don't give up the idea that you're going to fight and die on this hill. Don't die on this hill.
Mm.
There's plenty of room out there to do different things. And so the um the host who had invited me to speak, he was from Washington. And she came up to me after the speech and she said, "Boy, was that great. That's exactly what I needed for them to hear." And so, thank me very much. And she said, "Well, I can give you 300 if I got that." And I said, "You can I'll take it. Give me 300." She said, "But more than that, I want you to give me your email because when I get back to Washington, I'm going to send out I'm going to have everybody across the country know who you are."
Mm.
So then, next thing that happened is I got invited to Arkansas to speak to their national convention.
Mm.
It's, okay, I go there, I speak to the national convention. I started getting jobs all over the country. Come and talk to us about this. Come and talk to us about that.
Mm.
So, so it, no matter what I was saying to them, all I was saying to them is give up this, open your hands and think about it.
Mm.
You know more about it than anybody. All you have to do is release your anger, release all of this resistance, and say to yourself, let's go. And that's what I tell everybody. It doesn't matter what the subject is. I think that if you if you if you think about it long enough, you'll come up with the solution. You're not going to get it from me. You're not going to get it by looking at my website and reading my book and buying all this. Nope, 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 nope. Ain't going to happen.
Mm. Makes a lot of sense. Uh, my next question to you is like when it comes to public speaking, would you recommend any other source than Pathways or any additional source apart from Pathways to learn?
No, I don't. But here's what I do recommend. I recommend that you catalog stories in your own life.
Hmm.
Go back through your own life, catalog stories. Ask your family to tell you stories that you may have forgotten.
Hmm.
Then things that things that you are interested in, like I'm interested in airplanes and flying. That's what I think about that a lot. I watch videos about it a lot because I like it. The subject that you really, really like, find stories about that.
Hmm.
Write these things down because if you have a little file on your computer and you've cataloged these things,
Hmm.
um, if you hear someone say something at a Toastmasters meeting or you hear someone say something
Hmm.
when you're in line, make a note of it. Somebody say something that's really clever and you say to yourself, I like the way that person said that. Write it down. Now, if you do these things, again, pretty soon, you'll have a whole big repertoire of things repository of things that you can use in your speeches. Now, you're not going to find that in Pathways. You're going to find it in your everyday life. And if you want to get on your computer, you can go to YouTube and any place and just kind of scan different things and look for different things. And again, I'm not talking about doing anything. I'm not talking about sitting down and spending your life doing this. I'm saying training your ears to listen. So if you hear something, it stops you. Training your eyes, if you glance at something and you see something, you say, then you pull it out of there. And it's amazing how your brain works because my brain knows that I like airplanes,
Hmm.
right? And it knows that I like flying. So it don't matter what I'm doing. If there's something going on around me, my brain tells me,
Hmm.
and I go look. So use those techniques to um, develop a repository of things that you can talk about,
Hmm.
things that you become more knowledgeable about, and then you have it there to use whenever you need it. That's the best advice that I can give.
Makes sense. But as far as the reading material for the core public speaking is concerned, according to you, Pathways is sufficient, right? We don't have to refer to like, we wouldn't recommend referring to like any other material when it comes to that. Like the core Pathways material is fine for core public speaking.
You mean you're saying, do I think that there's something outside of pathways?
No, I mean, when we look at, let's say, our primary reading material when we want to learn public speaking, so for based on like your opinion, Pathways is sufficient. Like we don't have to refer to any additional material. Like I'm talking about core public speaking concepts like, let's say, vocal variety, body language, uh, speech structure, purpose, and all of those things. So for that, Pathways is sufficient, and like we do not need any additional materials, or you wouldn't recommend any additional materials for that.
No. Pathways. Because remember, public speaking is about doing. It's not about reading,
True,
not about memory. It's about doing. It's all about doing. So it doesn't matter how many books you've read if you can't get out there on stage and do it.
true. Hmm.
Not going to matter. So no, pathways to give you a framework. Work within that framework.
Hmm.
And again, public speaking is about speaking. It's not about listening. It's not about writing. It's not about reading. It's about speaking.
Makes sense. So Willie, what's next for you? What are you looking forward to now? What's the next goal in your journey, like be it Toastmasters or life in general?
What am I looking?
Like, what is your next goal? Like, what are you looking forward to? Like, be it Toastmasters or just life in general. What's your next goal?
I am. My next goal is to get my grandkids to listen to me. But in terms of Toastmaster goals, no, if I can help, um, I love to help people get better at doing this.
Hmm.
So that's a continuous goal.
Hmm.
But in terms of personal goals, no, I don't. I don't. There's none that I'm looking forward to. Right now, I am learning AI.
Hmm.
I'm learning all I can about AI because I think that while AI is the golden goose
Yeah.
that we all believe it is, it also there's a downside.
Yeah.
There's always two sides to a coin.
Hmm.
So I want to be one of the voices out here who are saying to people, be cautious.
True.
I don't want you to go running into that room thinking that your problem is now solved because AI is standing there with open arms. I
Hmm.
want you to understand that there's a price.
Hmm.
And if you're not prepared to pay that price, then you need to understand that AI is can be your friend, but you need to hold it out here,
Hmm.
not up here. So I need to learn about AI before I can become very conversant and knowledgeable about it. So I'm learning about it. I'm taking online classes about it because I want to be knowledgeable when I start talking about it
Hmm.
in terms of speaking and doing workshops about uh, the benefits and the downside of AI. Again, I think that these here's where I think that here's where I think AI is could be the end of civilization. I believe that anthropologically, human beings have a need to touch each other.
Hmm.
I don't believe that we were meant to live isolated and away from each other. I
Hmm.
believe that anthropologically we need to be near each other and we need to touch each other. So
Hmm.
that's at its basic level.
Hmm.
The other part is I think that I think that the way we get better at anything is by failing at it.
Hmm.
As you fail, you get better. If you look at a child as they're growing up, the first thing that the child can do is roll over. They can't get on their knees. They can't even lift themselves up. But One day the baby rolls over and everybody is happy. Everybody is smiling and happy. The next thing, the baby is not crawling, almost crawling, but they're moving.
mm,
So as children progress in their learning,
mm,
the same way I'm thinking about AI.
mm,
AI is telling us right now that I can do anything for you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to write emails. You don't have to answer anything. I'll make suggestions right on your screen. You want me to answer that text message? You want me to write this email for you? I can do it better than you. And it can. So you may think I can even generate pictures for you now. If you describe something to me, I can generate a picture for you. So AI is becoming so embedded into our daily routine,
mm.
pushing us away from ourselves. And we're not thinking about the consequences of that. Well,
Makes sense.
here's a consequence.
Mhm,
Here's a consequence that has implications for humanity. Right now, there's a war going on in Ukraine.
mhm,
That war is between the Soviet Russia and Ukraine and everybody else in the world because everybody is providing weapons. But those weapons, the person who's firing those weapons is sitting in Moscow
mm,
or Kiev, and they are sending drones
mm,
unmanned out to kill people.
mm,
So the person who's actually operating those drones has no emotional connection to what's going on at all.
mm,
Doesn't matter. That drone can go out there and kill 100 school children,
mm,
and that person sitting there doing that has no connection to that at all.
mm,
Doesn't care. Doesn't matter. May not even see it.
mm,
So if we get to a place, and we're almost there, where warfare, which will always be, there's never going to be peace all over the world,
mm,
where warfare is conducted from what's called standoff range, where the people who are actually doing most of the killing and the destruction are not even anywhere near the battleground,
mm,
then what is the incentive to stop fighting?
mm,
There is none.
mm,
You're not there. You're in no danger. So my point is, if I am a lesser country and you are a great country with the technology, then rather than be at your mercy, I have to find ways to equalize this thing. So then that means that I got to find ways to make you feel as much pain as I'm feeling. And that may come from weapons of mass destruction, you know? That may come from me blowing up your buildings or your schools and doing things like that. So war has rules. There are rules that major countries on the planet sign and say these are the rules of warfare.
mm,
We don't torture people, we don't kill innocent men, women, and children.
mm,
But in this war that's going on, the war that's going on in Gaza and the war that's going on in Ukraine, nobody's following the rules.
mm. True.
So my question is, where are we headed in terms of destruction? You see, and so
Mm,
that's on a that's on a big scale. But what about on a small scale? You know, uh, do we become so desensitized because we don't talk to each other personally? We only talk via text. We only use emojis to express emotions, but we don't actually see the person in person, or we don't actually touch the person. Then we become completely alien to each other. And therefore we lose our humanity. To me, that is a danger to our existence. And so I need to talk about that. I need to help people again to ask people to think. When's the last time you wrote a letter cursive to someone? When is the last time you went to see someone rather than texting them? Those are the things that I think that I don't want to go away. And I think that I need to be out here talking about it.
Makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I work in tech, so I spend a good amount of time on a daily basis just reviewing all the updates that have happened in AI and blockchain in the last 24 hours. So I spend a good amount of time on a daily basis to stay updated with it. So if I can be of help in any way, please let me know if you
I
need
will
any.
do that. Thank you for telling me that. So
Yeah,
you'll be hearing from me.
most definitely. So now we'll move forward with our final question. So like I mentioned, we asked our members of the District 49 Facebook group if they wanted to ask you anything. So the next two questions are from Sherry Mamura Ryan, who is one of our uh, most active members and serving as the area directors right now. So her question to you is, how do you find balance in your life?
How do you find balance in your life? Well, I think that balance is critically important. I believe that laughter is the best medicine. I find balance by always thinking about my own happiness. And I think that my happiness is my job. It's not someone else's job. It's my job. So I have to take care of what it is that I like. I have to laugh as much as possible because I think that laughter, I really do believe that laughter is the gold in your life. So I don't allow myself to get bogged down with anything. And what I mean by that is I'm not a fanatic about anything. You know, in other words, I don't have to have this. This is I gotta have this. No, I don't live my life that way. I live my life in a way where I know that I need rest. I know that I need fun. I know that I need education. I know that I need to be learning all the time. So I've had these goals in my life now for 30, 40 years. So it's something that sort of it's routine for me. It's I've internalized it into my life. But balance means uh, taking care of yourself, not taking care of not not forgetting that it's you that's your number one goal. Is you, and that may that may rub someone wrong. It may make someone a little bit upset with you, but that's okay because at the end of the day, you're the only person whose job it is to take care of you. So if you need to take some time off, and what I mean that take it off mentally or physically or both, you need to do that. And you need to do it because you are the person who's in charge and you're the one responsible for your health and your well-being. So balance means laughter, balance means touching human beings, telling people that you care about, that you actually care about them rather than assuming that they know, but you don't have to say it. Uh, all of the things that come that has to do with being present, you know, in conversations, being available when people that you love that you're connected to, let them know that you're there. You want to know that they're there. So that's what balance is all about. It's not about there's no formula for it because we all lead different types of lives. The main thing is don't think that if you leave your job, the place is going to close. It's not. Don't think that you're holding up the building because it's all on your shoulder. It's not. That's a fantasy, you know? So remember what I said in my speech that day. The number of people who's going to attend your funeral will be largely determined by the weather. so so don't take it so seriously, you know.
Makes a lot of sense. And her next question is, how has becoming the world champion of public speaking changed your world?
Changed my life.
Yeah.
Wow. So as I said, I didn't think about that much on the way to the up that journey up the mountain. I wasn't thinking about what happens when I win because I knew I was going to win. But my life, life, you have to, first of all, you have to be open, right? You can't be like this. So when I came away from New Orleans with the trophy in my hand, I was open to anything. I didn't have a plan. I started receiving all sorts of invitations to go here, go there, and do these things, but I didn't have a big plan. Um, what I wanted to do is I wanted to reach as many people as possible, and I wanted to speak to them. So I started accepting opportunities to speak everywhere, whether they were going to pay me or not. Well, at some point, I started saying to myself, maybe I should turn this into a business so that I can sell my own business that I had, my private business, and just do this. So I started down that road, and there was some false starts. There were some things that didn't work the way that well, but I was always being sought after to speak. So suddenly I have this notoriety. So people know me, people stop me, and so how do you feel those shoes? I think it's different for everyone. But what I said is, I'm just going to enjoy this. I don't know how long this is going to last, but as long as it lasts, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to get so big headed that I don't remain who I am. So um, it changed my life in a way where I was able to meet uh, and visit places that I never would have visited. I met famous people. I met very wealthy people. I met very influential people. I was asked to be on TV, and people were asking me, what do you think? And whatever I said is going to be heard by thousands of people. So it caused me to think before I spoke, to understand what I'm going to say, and to understand the impact of it can have on lots of people. So I had to become um, a lot more, a lot more serious on some things that I was saying. I had to be a lot more careful about what I said, because it wasn't just me talking. People were talking to me as if I'm an authority on, you're the world champion, so you must know something about this. Well, I didn't want to go around saying things that I didn't know, to take advantage of people. I'm not that way. And it's very easy to do, because if you are the world champion, then you'll have people listening to you, and you can be feeding them a whole bunch of bullshit, but again, that's not my personality. So therefore I didn't have that problem. My problem was, keep your mouth shut until you know what you're talking about, and don't run out there and just run your mouth just because you're the world champion. So I grew. I become a better person. I became a lot smarter, and I became a lot wiser. So I don't care who you are. Once you reach the top of the mountain and you have everybody wanting to see you, everybody wanting to talk to you, everybody wanting you to come and talk to them, it's an obligation that you have. And it's an opportunity and an obligation. It's an opportunity to reach many thousands of people, and it's an obligation for you to have something to say when they introduce you. You don't want to go there empty headed, or all you can do is talk about your speech. You're missing the boat if you don't understand how important it is when people are came to just to hear you talk, then have something to say to them. And my life changed in a way where all of these things are an opportunity. That doesn't mean that you have to do it. That doesn't mean that you will do it, but I'm saying that it's the opportunity. It's there for you if you want it.
Makes a lot of sense. I think so. That brings us towards all the questions that I had and other members of our district had requested. So before we close, Willie, would you like to give? Do you have anything else to say to our listeners? Like, is there anything else that comes to your mind that you would like to pass on to our listeners?
I would like to reiterate, if you are listening to this broadcast and you are not a Toastmaster, Give it a try. It will cost you $60 for 6 months. Do it for 6 months. It will be the best thing that you have done for yourself in your life. I guarantee it. Toastmasters has, I was a good speaker when I joined Toastmasters. I am a terrific speaker now, and I get better all the time. I haven't stopped learning, I haven't stopped listening. And finally, you'll meet within the Toastmaster universe, you'll meet the most dynamic and interesting and wonderful people that, again, that you can find anywhere. $60, 6 months. It's worth its weight in gold. Join Toastmasters.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Willie, for doing this. I learned a lot from this, and I'm sure all the people that would be listening to this would learn a lot as well. To all our listeners, uh, I would just like to reiterate the fact that if you are not a Toastmasters and if you would like to explore one of our clubs, especially if you would like to explore one of our clubs in Hawaii, please feel free to write to us at Toastmasters in Hawaii at the rate of gmail.com. You will find the specifics in the description of this video, so you can feel free to reach out to us. And I would also like to reiterate that Toastmasters is a non-profit organization, so all the work that we do here, it's voluntary. It's out of love for everything that this organization has done for us, how much we have grown personally through this, and that's why we do that. So none of us get paid anything for this, if you are wondering that. So this is totally like, there is no sponsorship involved in this. This is a whole voluntary effort and non-profit efforts towards that. So with that, I would like to conclude this video. Thanks again, Willie, and I would like to, yeah, wish our listeners all the very best.
Aloha.
Hello, everyone.